Alrighty, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's go ahead and get started. So again, this is how to boost digital engagement with a customer platform. To introduce myself specifically, I am David Gibb. I am the US marketing lead. If you got any invitation emails to this webinar or even the confirmation that I'm sure you received, those came from me. I'm going to be your primary host and MC for this session, and I'm really excited to be here together today to talk about digital engagement because it's a highly relevant topic. So just to give you a quick agenda, we are going to open by talking about why digital engagement is so relevant right now. Then we're going to outline what responsive digital engagement actually looks like. From there, we'll get into the meat of the matter, a great customer story about a manufacturer who built a digital engagement platform bridging Oracle EBS and Salesforce, leveraging Salesforce Experience Cloud and Einstein AI. After we tell that story, we'll talk a little about how you can replicate it and make it your own. Just to give you a heads up, some portions of this webinar are pre-recorded because I'm your solo host. In a moment, I'll throw to the recording, but I will be monitoring the Q&A section throughout. So if you have any questions that arise during that middle section of the webinar, just feel free to put them in the Q&A section. If I can answer them for you right now, I absolutely will. If I can't answer the question myself, I will get you an answer within the next 24 hours and follow up with you via email afterwards. So the first thing I want to say before we go any further is the main body of this webinar is going to be a true story about a customer of ours. They're a manufacturer, and it's really a true story about just how empowering CX modernization can be. Over the last year and a half, we hear so much about CX, digital engagement, and how COVID really sort of accelerated a lot of the transformation needs that existed across business in this area. But this is a story of a business that really went out there and dedicated themselves to doing it right. And how that CX modernization and growth has really transformed their business on a lot of levels. Before we dive into that customer story, let's just frame up a little context here. So as I said a minute ago, CX modernization and digital engagement have really been two of the biggest buzzwords or phrases that are on the tip of everybody's tongue for the last year or so. And when you look at business industry statistics, they really, really bear it out. So for example, Salesforce tells us that 84% of customers now say that experience is just as important as product. 86% of people will pay more for a better experience. So about 85% of people, an overwhelming majority, say that experience is really, really crucial, that they're willing to pay for experience. And at the end of the day, it's just as important as product. 60% of customers now report that they have higher expectations for CX than they did before COVID-19. So it used to be that people were, willing to call into an 800 number and wait on hold, or willing to take a ticket and wait in line for a long time. Everybody being cooped up inside, being engaged digitally for a year straight, it really changed the way that we approach things and the way that we look to have our needs filled. So customers are increasingly having high expectations for CX, for digital engagement. And as those other statistics we just went over illustrate, if you're not giving it to them, they're going to find someone else who is. And then just the final number on the screen, 5.7, almost 6 times as many users report being frustrated by unresponsive brands compared to 2019. So that's just 2 years ago. So it's gone up by a factor of 6. Consumers are increasingly frustrated and dissatisfied when they don't get the responsive service they want, when they can't get questions answered rapidly, when they can't manage their relationship with a business in a way that feels natural to them or feels right to them, feels easy. They get really frustrated. So as we see here, customer satisfaction and customer retention are really dependent on digital engagement moving forward here. So I've thrown around the term digital engagement a few times, and it would be sort of unfair of me to go any further without defining my terms. Let's say what we mean by responsive digital engagement. What does that look like? Well, the first rule or the first guiding principle is digital engagement is all about meeting the customers in the right time on the right channel. So engaging them on the device they like when they want to be engaged. So if they pick up their cell phone and they open your company website on the phone, that should be easy. That should be a great experience. If they want to reach out to you via SMS over text message, that should be easy. That should be a great experience. Whatever access point the customer wants to use, you need to be able to meet them there in a responsive digital manner. Now, when you're able to meet customers in the right time on the right channel, that empowers you to migrate a lot of their transactions to self service. So, for example, instead of everybody having to call your hotline to make payments or to make orders, maybe some of them can through SMS text message place an order, and they like that. Some of them can go on your website and engage with a chatbot, and they like that. Some of them can engage using a voice speaker, even like a an Amazon Alexa or a Google speaker, for example, and that works for them. So once you're able to meet customers in the right time on the right channel, you can migrate many of their interactions to self-service. And people like self-service, right? Because it's fast, it's rewarding, there's no wait time. All those things we talked about on the previous slide, right? Where people want to be engaged digitally in a rapid fashion. You can do that when you're meeting people in the right time on the right channel. So, what's extra exciting about that self service experience from a business perspective is that every time a customer engages with that chatbot, that SMS framework, your website portal, whatever the point of engagement is, that point of engagement is constantly gathering data, constantly studying customer behavior. What are their needs? What are the most common questions? What are they looking for? What are the most common dead ends or frustrations? What are the gaps in the experience? The experience itself is natively gathering that data for you. That can be really helpful to guide continuous improvement efforts. It can also be really, really empowering to sales. So when you have that data for sales, you can transform them. Now they're true advisors, true customer success professionals. They're there specifically to give the customer exactly what they want and meet their needs. They're not just sitting on a phone taking an order for someone. They understand their needs based on the analytics in the system, and they can reach out to them responsively through the system. And when you've done all that, you've really served the customer better. You've met them in their time and place of need. You've given them the quick, rapid self service experience they want. And you've got the business data that's helping you improve your approach going forward and setting your sales and account teams up for a lot of success. It all comes back to the customer. So, a responsive digital engagement strategy really sets the foundation for what Salesforce would refer to as Customer 360. This constant, responsive, engaging relationship with the customer that's also powered by data that's going to help you grow your business. All right, so now that we've defined our terms a little better and know exactly what we mean by digital engagement, let's start talking about our customer here. So the customer who this story is about, they are a manufacturer based in the southeastern US, and they specialize in manufacturing construction materials. So let's take a quick look at their goals and challenges at the outset. Their main goal was really to modernize CX. Prior to this project, they had no online ordering system for their customers whatsoever. Basically, the entire relationship was managed the old fashioned way with sales phone calls and emails. And that wasn't really a great use of time for their internal sales and account team. Very, very time consuming to take all those orders on the phone or to put everything in manually once you've received an email, and they really didn't have the time and space that they needed to grow the accounts or do anything innovative from a sales perspective or really even get to know the customers on an individualized level. It was just order taking. So they were really trying to modernize CX in a way that would make some more time there, get the sales pros and the customers off the phone, and just create something that was a little more responsive, a little more data empowering for everybody. So something that would make sure that the account managers and sales professionals had a really good understanding of the customer, their needs, their desires, their habits, and make sure that the customer had easy access to any historic data or any other sort of relationship management concerns, so that if they needed to reach out to the agent, they still could, just as easy as it used to be with the 800 number. But trying to create a system where you weren't just slamming the call center. On the other hand, they were facing some challenges that kind of made this work even more complex. One is that they were growing really, really rapidly. They had an aggressive merger and acquisition strategy that had built them up a great deal over the previous 3 years. And in that time, they brought on a lot of customers and a lot of new suppliers. So there's, of course, the need to make sure that you're doing a great job supporting those customers as they come into your fold so that they don't go away, right? So they wanted to make sure that they built a new CX that was going to support this growth strategy, retain the customers they'd inherited through M&As, and really become something buzzworthy that could become a differentiator that helps them land future customers as well. Another challenge following the sort of theme that things were a little outdated here was that all their customer data was siloed in an on-premise instance of Oracle e-business suite, totally disconnected from the sales and account teams who were working in Salesforce. So again, just a lack of transparency, a lack of unity on the customer data front. So all around, it was really an outdated experience. It wasn't very empowering for customers, and it wasn't very empowering for the sales team. So the IT team figured out, how can we address this? They devised a three-phased approach that we're going to walk through here. Okay, so phase one of the project was to create a single source of truth. Like we said before, all their data was siloed in EBS on premise. And that meant that the Salesforce users were totally cut off from all that, which led to a lot of delays. Delays in fulfilling customer orders, delays in the ability of orders to get, from the sales team to the folks in the warehouse who were actually fulfilling the order, et cetera, et cetera. So the first step was to create a single source of truth, to connect Oracle and Salesforce to create a two-way live data sync so that everybody was seeing the same data story at the same time. This, of course, enabled huge responsiveness basically immediately across the team. The second a sales professional logs something in Salesforce, it's visible across the entire environment, regardless of whether the individual internal user is looking at it through Salesforce or looking at it through EBS. So just completely got rid of all that downtime that existed in order processing, for example. And that live sync just makes sure that everybody has a nice view, a nice clean view, a nice clean data story for every single customer so that nothing can really get lost in the gaps between EBS and Salesforce. So that was phase one. And this is really the foundational phase. This needed to be in place in order for the CX initiative to really work. And we'll see why when we move into phase two here. So phase two was to create the experience portal to extend that single source of truth that we had created to the customer, taking that integrated Oracle Salesforce data flow and connecting that to Salesforce Experience Cloud. So before we did that, like we said, it was an old-fashioned kind of phone and email workflow with a total lack of general e-commerce. What we did with that unified data flow that we had created is we extended it to Experience Cloud and created a customer portal that functioned as an engagement hub and basically a full relationship management hub where customers can do just about anything they need to do. They can place an order, they can make a service request, they can look up historic data, they can ask their account agent to contact them. Just about anything they would need to do as part of their relationship with the supplier, they can handle through the portal with absolutely no hassle. And like we said before, it's totally self-service or as self-service as possible. Things are only escalated to agents when they're absolutely needed. From there, we moved into phase three, which is basically the bells and whistles phase or the optimization phase, as you might want to call it. So we've got the single source of truth integrated from EBS and Salesforce. We've got a customer platform built on the top of that. And now in phase three, we're going to work on making that customer platform better and better by leveraging innovative technologies and applying, some of the best practices that we're seeing in digital engagement. A big piece of that is AI from Einstein, conversational AI, chatbots. And chatbots are huge when it comes to call deflection potential, being able to meet people in their time and place of need, like we were talking about before. So as part of phase three, we integrated an Einstein chatbot into the customer platform. So now the customer has a full self-service experience, but if they prefer something a little faster, or if they run into any roadblocks as they're working, they can engage the conversational chatbot. So there's no more kind of clicking around and trying to punch through problems on a portal. There's no opening the portal and getting frustrated there and needing to call the phone number after you swore you weren't going to. Einstein steps in and totally takes care of that and makes sure that the customer is satisfied. The great thing about conversational AI as well is it makes the experience even easier to extend in an omni-channel way. So if you're trying to bring accessibility to people across a number of devices, whether you want to enable voice, whether you want to make it really, really easy for people to manage orders via SMS or via text message, things of that nature, AI makes that much, much easier, and it gives someone a really personal feeling experience. That's the one thing with digital engagement is you need to make sure that things are responsive and self-service, but people still like the idea that they're being helped, right? That there are supports in place, and conversational AI really, really gets that, where you have a nice responsive digital experience, but it doesn't feel cold and impersonal either. It's very, very richly supported, very, very human feeling. So those are the three phases of this story, this customer story. So they started by connecting their Salesforce and EBS environments. Then using Salesforce Experience Cloud, they built a CX on top of that. And then from there, using technology like Einstein, they continued to optimize and extend that experience by adding conversational AI. So let's check back in here and talk a little bit about their outcomes. So at the end of this project, at the end of all three phases, they had absolutely modernized their CX. It's not necessary to call to make orders anymore. There's no sort of emailing back and forth, multi-email paths to putting in an order either. Everything can be done right through this experience hub in a highly accessible way. Totally self-service in line with all the emerging best practices for CX and digital engagement. Then on the sort of backside of things, within the business, they also saw tremendous gains in terms of productivity because they reduced customer call volume, which created new time for sales and account executives to get to know their accounts. They can look at that digital engagement data that the platform generates. They can do more research on their own to try to figure out who are these customers, what are their habits, what are their routines, what are their needs, what are their obstacles, et cetera, and just become really empowering customer engagement agents, not just glorified order takers. And at the end of the day, when you can do that, when you're providing the responsive self-service digital experience that people want and backing it up with human thinking and human consideration and the ability to be responsive in human ways in the right time, that's really sort of the gold standard for a great experience. So at the end of the day, this project was a great success for this team. Okay, so next I am going to play a little bit of a video here. This is going to talk about the side of the story that I didn't really cover. I talked about, the before and after of how this transformed things for this business and their customers. But this story really kind of tells the back end part of, how was the integration created? And at the end, it'll show you a little bit of what the customer engagement platform in question looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and play.
For many businesses, customer data is divided between two sources of truth: an Oracle ERP used by back office and supply chain professionals, and a Salesforce CRM used by the front office, sales, and service teams. What if you could connect your Oracle ERP and Salesforce CRM to create a single source of truth for both teams? R-Star Technologies can help you do just that. Let's see what it looks like in action. For example, let's say a customer reaches out to reduce their standard monthly order due to financial constraints. Your fulfillment team can look up the active order in your Oracle ERP, update the number of parts in the order, and document the reason for the change. In the past, that update might not have made it to Salesforce because the data had to be rekeyed manually. With a seamless CRM ERP integration, that information can be synced with the CRM and be visible to your sales team in real time. How does it work? Well, first, the names of objects and fields from both Oracle and Salesforce are mapped, and transformation rules are created to ensure both platforms can interpret and present the same set of data. Once the integration is turned on, when a sales professional searches the order number in Salesforce, they'll see the updated order totals without any manual data transfer or wasted time making inter-office calls or emails. That means better visibility, increased productivity, and more customer-friendly account management. From there, you can extend that same comprehensive data view to the customer using a portal like Salesforce Experience Cloud. With custom integration, you've built a connected enterprise that's ready to conquer some of the industry's biggest challenges. If you'd like to learn more about how you can maximize your Oracle and Salesforce investments, let's schedule a value realization session to see how this accelerator can bring value to your organization.
Everybody, thanks so much. I am back with you live. So that was our customer story, as well as just an introduction to our viewpoint on digital engagement, why it's so relevant right now, and why this is really something that just about every business needs to be looking at. Let's take a look at the customer experience. This is a quote that was from the VP of Sales at the organization we just talked about. The VP of Sales said, understands how to stretch themselves beyond IT and speak to a sales guy and understand their perspective. They do a great job of listening to us, saying, hey, this is what I think my customer needs, and this is how they need to see it. And they turn around and they do it for us. They listen and they meet our needs. Here's another great quote from someone we worked with on that project. It was extremely organized, and you could see that they had experience with Oracle, Salesforce, and digital engagement initiatives. So we've looked at this story from a couple of different angles. The business case for it, why this stuff is so relevant right now. We walked through the step-by-step path of the 3 phases. So let's transition into talking about how you can replicate this story at your business and create your own digital engagement platform that connects data from your ERP and Salesforce. You know, we work in these 3 stages. First, we break the silo. Then we connect a CX to that integrated environment. And from there, we move into innovation with AI and other optimizations. So if you'd like to get started, if you're interested in learning more, if this story speaks to you, the first step is to schedule a discovery session with us. That's going to be a high-level fit gap session. We'll sit down together, we'll get to know each other, and we'll figure out where you are in your journey overall, in terms of your business goals, in terms of your IT department, your practice, and in terms of where you're specifically trying to get with CX. What's great in that discovery session is we can pick up the baton wherever you're working. Let's say you already have a single source of truth for customer data. Well, you don't need us to do phase 1. It's already taken care of. We can move right into the CX phase. Or if you've already got a great engagement portal that works for you, we can move into phase 3. We can build conversational AI on it or other optimizations and integrations to make it even better and even more worthwhile for your customers. Once we've had that discovery session and we sort of understand who you are and what you're all about, we sit down together and we create a personalized roadmap to your future CX. That roadmap is designed specifically to guide a project that's going to meet your exact goals, depending on what they are. So in this case, they were mostly concerned with the call deflection potential, how to create more time for their sales and account professionals. And we tailored their roadmap to get them to that specific goal. Maybe you're more intrigued by the ability of this portal to boost revenue or to increase customer engagement and retention. Whatever goal is most important to you, we'll build in a way that guarantees that you achieve it. That personalized roadmap is a living, breathing document that you can refer back to at any time. Once you do have that roadmap in place, we can get started on actually picking up the work for you, whether it's phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. We specialize in helping people see returns very, very rapidly. So if any of that information speaks to you, if you're interested in taking the next step, learning how to get started, sitting down for that discovery session so we can get to know each other better, here's how you can do it. You can send an email, just let them know you attended today's webinar and you're interested in talking about digital engagement, and someone will get back to you very quickly. You can also email me directly. If you have the confirmation email for this session, that email address is probably in your inbox. You can track it down and email me there. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. You can also visit our website. If you fill out that form, someone will reach out to you very shortly as well. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. At this point, we can move to questions and answers. There have been no questions in the Q&A field throughout, but if you have anything now, please feel free to toss it out there. Like I said, I'll answer it if I can in the session in the time we have remaining. If not, if it's beyond me, or if I think that you need a more detailed answer than I can provide, I will absolutely pass it along to the correct person who was involved in the project, and they can get you an answer within the next 24. If you'd like to hang on the line to go over some questions, I'd be happy to stay. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today. This webinar was scheduled for 40 minutes. We'll give you the last 10 back to resume your work week and get to whatever is relevant to you. But we do hope that you'll consider this and that you'll reach out to us soon, because we really believe that this is the summer of digital engagement. The businesses who get on top of this stuff now and modernize their CX are going to see incredible gains moving forward in terms of satisfaction, in terms of retention, in terms of their abilities to grow. The businesses that fall behind, they're going to fall behind, frankly. So let's make some time in the near future to talk about this stuff. Again, I'll hang on the line a little longer if anybody has a question they'd like to ask, but otherwise, please enjoy the rest of your afternoon.